Welcome, Midnight Readers, to tonight's podcast. Tonight we're going to be discussing a fan favorite, fictional men and book boyfriends. Tonight we have two beautiful guests here with us who will be answering some questions and giving their unscripted, unfiltered responses. Be sure to hang around to the end. I too will be sharing my own unscripted, candid thoughts and feelings on the subject. Okay, I can see you two ladies are ready. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, I want you to start out by envisioning your dream man. You're familiar with Build-A-Bear, right? Well, let's pretend that this is Build-A-Man. What color hair would you pick for him? Eyes? How tall would he be? Now let's pretend that there's a special section where you could add personality traits, special skills, what kind of background he comes from, how many connections he has, and even how much wealth he has. Okay, now that you've built your dream man, imagine what it would be like to constantly read about him and see him and men like him in books and on the big screen. Do you agree that after weeks or months, even years, of this kind of repeated exposure, that the dream might feel less like a dream but rather become somewhat normalized? Is it possible that you may even start looking for those qualities in a partner? Assuming you weren't attached or in a relationship, of course. If not the whole package, at least more of the parts than you had in the past. This brings me to the topic at hand, book boyfriends and fictional men. It is no secret that Bookstagram and Book Talk have been huge over the last couple of years and are still growing at rapid rates. Through these platforms and countless others, we are being exposed to reels, movie clips, music videos, book promos, and books themselves that portray these larger-than-life men that are typically tall, masculine, powerful, and have the power to make you feel things that you've never felt before, in the best way possible. Hell, even the villains are made to look like gods whose actions are fully justified. My question for you is, do you think that this constant exposure is influencing women's wants and desires? And are unrealistic expectations being created?
Yes, I think that the books and television shows and movies these days are giving women unrealistic expectations of what they should expect from a man, from a marriage, from any kind of relationship with the opposite sex. Or sometimes even with the same sex.
Yes, I would agree with you. At the same time, honestly, the question is, do we know what people are thinking expectations are? Do they even know what expectations are?
That's an excellent question. And I think that's kind of the problem at hand here. A lot of these people aren't necessarily coming to the floor with a full mindset of exactly what they want, or rather what they need. Their wants, their desires, they're being based off fictional things that have never been real, but rather always wants and desires. So that's kind of what we're looking at is, if their wants and desires are ever going to fully be met, if they're expecting things that they're only reading and seeing. And that brings me to my next question. What about for the younger generations who maybe haven't had as much life experience? Do you think they're being set up for disappointment?
I think the biggest issue these days with our younger generation is, one, our females haven't quite learned what they enjoy, what they like, what they really want out of life from a relationship, whether it just be a friend with benefits or it be they're looking for something long term. But in addition to that, the males of this generation have become so addicted to things like pornography that they look at it like, hey, I'm the pizza guy delivering your pizza. And all of a sudden, this hot chick's just going to be like, come in, I'm going to take care of you and give you some pizza. But that's not really how life happens. And so, one, I think it's important that these women learn what it is they like with themselves before they start looking for somebody else to please them. And two, that we start really having conversations with the men that we are in relationships with, or other women, whatever your choice may be. Because here's the thing, is if you can't have an open and honest conversation about the things that you like or the expectations you have, then you're not going to be able to have a fully functioning relationship.
Okay, so what I think I hear you saying is that these young women, or women in general, and some men, are in fact being set up for failure. They are either A, not taking the time to get to know themselves and what they enjoy or really desire, or they're just not getting the opportunity. They're being thrust into these unrealistic expectations or scenarios, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think that nobody's taking the opportunity to really, A, get to know each other on a more emotional level, these days it's all about like hit it and quit it, or swipe left, swipe right, whatever it is. And they're not really taking the time to be like, hey, okay, he may not have the look that I normally like, but what if this guy could totally be your everything because he fits every other box that you have up there that you want checked off before you're in a relationship? You never know. You just never know. You have to give people a chance.
Yeah, I totally agree. I hear what you're saying. So I now have another question for you. You say it's important for them to get to know themselves and to give people chances because you never know. So I guess that would require a little exploration, if you will. Okay, so my question is, how would you, or what advice would you give to a young couple in regards to exploration?
So one of the things that I do as a side hustle is I do peer romance, which is an adult themed items. So I think it's important as a couple that you be comfortable with each other's bodies, comfortable with different things, comfortable with what you're both okay with. I know we hear a lot of jokes about like safe words and things, but I think that's important because if something's going too far and it makes somebody uncomfortable, to be able to say that, have that safe word. But also look at using different kind of toys, look at using different kind of, lubes, look at using different kind of scents or taste or smell, but just make sure that you're doing it in a safe way, because sometimes a lot of people will use things that are inappropriate, like food, which could cause females to get infections and things like that. And it could be an issue. But you see a lot of that in, again, going back to the unrealistic expectations, you see a lot of those things being used in movies and different books that you read. And that's not real, because that could cause some serious health problems for both the male and the female. And so you have to really be careful when you're doing things like this. But just keep in mind, while I know that we're focusing a lot on playtime, relationships aren't always about playtime. There's a whole lot more to it than just the fun parts.
That's all great advice. I love that. I know a lot of it sounds like common sense, but unfortunately it's not. And sometimes just hearing these suggestions it's solid. It's very, very good for the younger generations, even older ones that are maybe re-entering new relationships or coming back to the dating scene once again. That's solid advice. I love it. I think we should throw in there too that it doesn't necessarily have to be with a partner. When you're exploring and seeing what you like, there are different, toys, devices, different things to try out on your own as well to see what you're comfortable with before you bring it to the bedroom if you happen to be a little bit more shy or, not as adventurous. Okay, so now we're going to come out of the bedroom and come to the other side of the relationships. What do you think you should do to explore your partner and get to know them better? Or what do you think is the other side here outside of the bedroom?
Just don't be afraid of asking questions. You can ask questions to your partner. You can ask questions to your parents. Ask questions to a stranger. Just know who you're asking. To your girlfriends, yes. All around. People may be more experienced than others. You won't learn unless you ask. Don't be afraid. We don't know it all.
I love it. And that is all very solid advice. I just want to throw in there as well that in regards to asking questions, ask your partner too. Especially ask your partner. This is the person that's going to give you the most solid advice about the situations between you and them, about what they like, dislike, what they're comfortable with, what they're looking for. Have those conversations, even if they're uncomfortable. Hell, make it a game, play 21 questions, whatever you want to do if you're not comfortable at first. If it's a new relationship, things can be a little awkward to talk about right off the bat. Make it fun, make it into, like I said, like a game or whatever. But this communication is super, super important. You need to know if you guys want the same things, or hell, maybe you're not even sure what you want, but at least try and figure out if you guys are at least headed in the same direction. That right there is the foundation of your relationship. That is laying out the groundwork to base everything else upon. Okay, and with that, we wrap up the interview portion of this evening. Thank you, ladies. I want to thank you very much for your advice. Thank you for being here tonight. It was a pleasure.
I appreciate you having us. I will make sure that I give you the information for my Pure Romance website. And if anybody's interested, you can contact me through that information and I can help you out with any questions you have.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Midnight Readers. It's just me and you now. let's jump into a little personal talk. I don't know about you, but if you're anything like me, I always love looking at situations and just overall topics from every point of view possible. I like weighing the pros and cons and just seeing things from both sides of the playing field, so to speak. That was some really good, raw, unscripted feedback from our guest today, which I absolutely loved. Now, you guys want to hear what I think about things? Your host, the Midnight Author. Well, from my point of view, I love the way that things are portrayed in the books and movies, because not so much that it translates into things that I want in real life, but it gives me a chance to have those things that I want in my dreams. Not things that I'd want every day, but rather things I'd like to escape to for a time being, for a small amount of time. Possibly even those things that could evoke emotions from me without me actually having to go through it or live it. Does that make sense? Do any of you have a life that you wouldn't trade for anything, but you love the excitement, the thrill, the emotions, the rawness, and the way it sweeps you away in all these different unattainable or unrealistic scenarios? You know what I'm saying? I love it. I don't get it mixed up with real life. It doesn't influence my end goal in life, but it does kind of, I guess, influence my desires and wants. To an extent, not much, but to an extent. You know, like, for example, the move that's like sweeping across the internet where the guy kind of like leans over the girl and puts his arm on the door frame above her head. Yeah, it's sexy. It's something I didn't really think about until I read. And I like it. Yeah, sure. And would I tell the guy that I like or love, try this out if he doesn't do it on his own? Yeah, I might suggest it. It might lead to something fun, who knows? And so in that sense, I think that those kind of influences aren't necessarily all bad, as long as you're able to stand back and look at all these different elements and identify what realistic expectations would be. I mean, there's a lot of fun suggestions kind of thrown in there. And you could play around with different things, good ideas, spice it up a little bit, if you will, if that's your sort of style, if you're more adventurous or whatnot, or just looking to mix it up. But you need to have a firm grasp on reality. Not every person has a personality type that is going to be able to or want to pull off all the stuff that you read. So just having like that firm grasp on reality, I guess. I know it sounds like common sense, but sometimes you do get swept away when reading these things and it seems so natural that you need to remind yourself, it's not reality, and really consider your partner. Are they going to be wanting to, willing to, able to do these things? If so, great, if it's something you want. If not, that's okay. Maybe there's something else you can figure out that would be better suited. And there's no harm ever in throwing out suggestions as long as you do it in like a considerate sort of way. Don't make your partner feel like they need to change or they're not good enough, because that's obviously only going to lead to disaster. Um, Make sure they're comfortable and just make it like it's fun. Like, hey, it might be fun if we try this. Is there anything you want me to try? Anything you want me to do? Yeah. And like I said, you know your partner best. So if this isn't something that's up their alley, then maybe just leave it for your dreams while you read. Because after all, these books are escapes, right? It is like I always say, a well-renowned author, a scholar of words, a wise writer? Me? No. I am but a storyteller, a weaver of words and worlds. I am your next escape, your next adventure, your next romance, your next read. Speaking of reads, Midnight Readers, I need to know what your favorite genre is. Full disclosure, my favorite season is fall, and we will be delving into a wide array of mysteries, thrillers, and whatnot, and fun interviews with some really cool people on some very cool subjects coming up this fall. So brace yourselves all the way from the end of August to Halloween. We're going to go full on fall theme. As for now, write in and let me know, what is your favorite genre out of romance, mystery, thrillers, or horror?
Being an author, I like to keep things exciting. So, I have a surprise for you guys. While all of us females are over here chatting about book boyfriends and fictional men, and putting out our ideas and thoughts on the subject. There's been a guy listening in, just kind of taking it all in, hearing what we had to say, and now it's his turn. Okay, so you had a chance to kind of sit there and listen in on the girls' perspectives, get an idea of what's kind of going through our minds these days. I'm curious to hear what is going through the minds of men. I mean, you guys have all these crazy, unrealistic expectations to be, I guess you would say, compared to, being pushed out there through books, movies, TV shows, social media, all sorts of stuff. Do you think there has been a shift in the way women think because of this? Are they wanting more than they have in the past? What do you think?
I just think Disney ruined everything for everybody.
Oh, so you're blaming this all on Disney?
Yep.
Well,
Disney and the rap industry.
okay, that's fair. That is fair. But that also, if you're going to go into that kind of twisted it for women as well, then wouldn't you agree? I mean, in all the music videos, what did you see? In all the 90s, early 2000s, half naked women, they were all flawless, they all were in bikinis or whatnot, and that was constantly pushed out there too. So, I guess if you look at things in terms of that lens, the same thing was happening to women, right?
Yeah, it's like they were setting everybody up for OnlyFans. It was a setup.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I guess I want to know from you specifically, do you feel more pressure? Do you feel like you need to live up to this new norm? Are these new expectations?
No.
Why
I think
not?
you just got to be yourself.
That's very good. I think you should be yourself too. That's great. And that's what real relationships that last are built on. Anyways, so you feel no pressure. Do you think other men out there, maybe the younger generation, is feeling this pressure? There's been an influx of like gym bros and guys all over social media with their shirts off and doing these different workouts and whatnot and doing all these crazy so-called cool dances. Do you think that they're getting the effects from this? Are they feeling the pressure from these effects?
Yeah, because they're just stuck inside watching all this media, and they're not experiencing the real world out there. They're not getting out there anymore.
So do you think they kind of got gypped?
Oh, yeah. Oh, half and half, I guess.
Why do you say that?
Because there's a lot that they're seeing that a lot of other people didn't get to see because of media or social media.
That's true. So, whereas the older generations had a chance to go out and live it, they were living these realities with the same expectations that the younger generation is now doing or having to live through online or behind a screen, I guess you'd say. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. So you feel that it doesn't affect the older generations at all? Everybody's just cool? They don't feel like they have to meet some sort of standard?
No, they got it down.
Maybe it's just
It's
you.
the young,
Maybe you're cool.
it's the new millennials that are having the trouble. All the young kids.
Yeah. Okay, well, I appreciate you being on today. I love hearing people's perspectives and opinions. Everybody today was great, so thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, have a great day.
All right, let's go.
Okay, so we've heard from both the men and women on this topic here. And I find it kind of interesting that the women are seeming to think, yeah, these new unrealistic expectations are influencing our thoughts, our wants, our desires, relationships across the board. Maybe not so much. I think we kind of heard from everybody saying that maybe it's not so much for the older generations who've had a chance to live and experience things outside of these expectations, but it seems across the board that the women think that they are feeling the effects of this. I wonder what is causing this rift here. The men seem to think that it's not so much, and could it be because that's somebody from not the younger generation, or could it be that it's because they're not being as exposed? They're not the target audience of these books, of these movies. these would be like rom-coms. These would be like romantic movies. These would be, you know, dark romance. Different things like that in terms of books, movies, and shows that typically do not target the men. It targets us women. So maybe that's a reason why we're feeling the effects more. Or I'm not sure. I wonder if you guys have any thoughts on that. Why would it affect women more than it would men? And I can't help but wonder if that's going to cause like this rift between what men think we want and what we as women actually want. But I guess, as we touched on before, that's going to be a major place where communication is going to come into play. That effective communication, that's a skill that you're going to want to have in this new day and age. It definitely will be a savior if you're able to do it effectively. But yeah, it's interesting to hear these different perspectives and what the men versus women think. But also, you know, obviously keep in mind that it's different. It's going to be a different response per whoever you ask. Like, as for myself, I saw truth in everything everybody said today. But my personal stance still remains that I love being exposed to that stuff. I think it's sexy. I think it's desirable. I think it gives you an escape. And it's something that I love having in my life. I love writing it. I love being able to control it and manipulate it. And that, having that element brings the satisfaction where I don't necessarily want to or need to be going out and looking for it all the time. But it doesn't influence, like I said before, it does to an extent, but not fully influence my wants and desires. So, yeah, guys, write in. Let me know what you think. Is it affecting just women? Or is it affecting men and women? Or is there no effects from it whatsoever? Write in, let me know. And I'm going to share some of your responses in the next Real Talk. All right, guys? So let me know what you think. Thank you for listening.